Is it the value of therapist and coach and talking to somebody outside of your circle and looking within, and you have the answers already? Um, okay, final close, because for
Okay.
real, you have like, do you have like 10? You're okay. You're
Yeah,
gonna,
I'm good.
right?
I'll
Just
tell you if I'll tell you when I'm not.
okay, because
Remember, explicit and direct.
okay, yeah, yeah, I like that, which I didn't learn till later in life. Okay, so I don't know actually if you've been involved in some sort of disaster sort of situation, but I wanted to either dedicate maybe this month to all things Hawaii, because not only they're beautiful, magical people, and I actually was supposed to go to Maui in November to Lahaina, like specifically. Um, I really, I guess in talking to you, like as far as piece of advice, you have, I'm sure, been in situations where basically, though, you still have to kind of hold it together, like,
Yeah,
as I mean, you have to the next day, you have to do your job where people are, if you want to say, relying on you, and is there anything, because I know that it could be okay, what area do we want to focus on and help supporting, because it's great that we're supporting and people are giving money and people are being there and all of that, but more so, and I want to like post things like, okay, here's some, I'm not an expert, but acupressure, right? There's certain points that help deal with anxiety and worry, and to only take a few minutes. Like, is there anything that maybe, like a technique, a suggestion, a way every time they go to this other way of thinking, like to help them be clear, or a meditation or an affirmation, or you see where I'm going with this, is whatever
sure.
you want, but I'm sure there's something good that we think would be good and useful and helpful to them during this time.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about this on the phone the other day.
Mm, holding
I
space.
don't. Yeah, just holding space for yourself. It's hard. It's easy in some aspects to be mission focused. Like I'm doing the job. Like when you become a shift firefighter, you have a support system at home. Like my wife knew, she can call me, but I can't do anything. I can't come home to fix the water heater or anything else like that. So you tend to just kind of shut that part off, and you're mission focused. And I don't know what a retired firefighter from the Midwest could offer, the folks of Maui. But I think I would offer up the ability to acknowledge how hard it is, right? To just openly and outwardly acknowledge, like maybe you're in the car, maybe you're in the apparatus, maybe you're just off by yourself, and just talk about how much it sucks and how unfair it is. And in that aspect, you're validating those feelings that are coming up. We have tornadoes in the Midwest, and I know people that experienced the Joplin tornado and lost their whole, house and people. And I think the worst thing that we could do is offer up some cliche, saying, because we are uncomfortable with what they're experiencing. I don't think we have to problem solve for them, for the Maui firefighters, for the people that live on the island. I think just acknowledging that it sucks, that we hate it, it's unfair, and to allow yourself that grieving process. Like, don't
Mhm.
stop that natural process. Anytime there's a loss, we grieve, and I think that would be what I would offer up to those firefighters, EMS dispatchers, is just to acknowledge those feelings. Don't try to push them down. Don't try to control them, because you can't control emotions. We can manage them in the moment by being mission focused, by staying task oriented. If you need to stay at work, stay at work. If your family needs you at home and you need to stay at work, communicate that to your support system so they know, like, that's the best way for you to manage right now at this moment. but also be prepared, because when that barrier gets pulled away and there's no more work to be done, all that's going to come rushing in on you. So just be prepared for that. I think the other thing that I would offer up to, and I know they're doing a great job, there's individuals doing great work over there. Shane, who works in Oahu, has head up a bunch of relief and support for Maui. I bought a shirt today from the Yard Foundation. They're doing all the proceeds of the shirt sales are going to Maui firefighters. Chief Jeff Johnson shared a story of Maui Engine 1 today or yesterday that was just incredible. So those things are going on. And I think, if people are willing to help, be open and receptive to that help. And just know that the rest of the world is sending you positive thoughts and vibes, and they're gonna make it through it like they have always before. It just sucks right now. So
yeah, I think that's good. It's difficult to see that we want to say like, oh, it's temporary, but I mean, it's temporary, but maybe the temporary could be a couple months, could be
or longer.
Or longer.
They say that time heals all wounds, and I think
Yeah,
that's
I'm not
shit,
sure. Yeah.
Right?
I was just writing about that.
Yeah. Time is just time, right? It's very subjective. I think intentional actions over time makes things less impactful. So,
right.
But I think it's the intentional action, like acknowledging, like, this sucks. I hate it. I lost everything. I have to work. Because with the firefighter aspect, and particularly in the community setting, I can't help but imagine that every one of those firefighters in Maui is taking a personal investment in their neighbors, in their community. So it's not only did those firefighters potentially lose their own house, their community, and that pride in that community is also a loss, right? And I think grieving that loss is going to be really important moving forward, and particularly with acknowledging what's going on. There's a level of acceptance, right? And society has a really skewed version of acceptance, I believe. And it's like, well, if I accept it, that means I like it. And if I accept it, then I can't change it. And if I accept it, that it'll be this way forever. And I don't think that's what acceptance is. I think we can accept something knowing that it's not going to be this way forever. I think we can accept something even though we don't like it, right? We can accept things that will oftentimes change in the future. It's kind of like meditation, right? Like, how do you teach somebody how to meditate? And what's the number one excuse for not meditating or mindfully walking? Well, I can't deflect all the outside noise, right? I can't find 5 minutes to sit in complete silence. Like, my heart's beating too loud. I'm breathing too heavy. Like, right? I can't do it. Well, instead of trying to shield and block, what would happen if you accepted and acknowledged it? What if you accepted the noise of the street, acknowledged it, and then let it go? Right? Maybe try that instead of trying to do it the way that I do it or the way that you do it. And I'm by no means a practitioner of excellence when it comes to meditation. So I think acknowledging those feelings is going to be huge for healing.
Yeah, I think, that's a big deal. I also think I can imagine, I mean, it's nothing wrong to say that there could be a lot of anger, especially people that I know Hawaiian people have very spiritual culture. Maybe, I don't know to say like the numbers, but the anger of the whole why and feeling things have been taken. You know what I mean? Physically tangible. I was just talking about this because there's just no amount of positive thinking sometimes during those things where it's like, okay, but it's gone physically, even again in your mind, history and the things, like, even though I can sit here and be like, okay, we can build something bigger and better and greater and all of that sort of stuff. And anyway, everybody is different.
Yeah, and I think even those shift firefighters that lost everything, I mean, they have what they have at the firehouse, and that's really about it, right?
Mhm.
What words of optimism could I possibly give them? Zero, zero. I'm not even going to try. And I feel bad for the people who are like, but you can do it better. Why would you say that? Like, you're not even allowing them to feel the loss or to grieve the loss now. And I think in those aspects of being unskilled, dumb, not stupid, but unskilled when it comes to holding space for people who have lost, right? Someone dies, oh, they're in a better spot. That's not what I want to hear in this moment, right? Right.
Right.
So I think just being able to hold space, and that's where that awkward silence comes from. Like, if you tell me about the significant loss, it's uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. I don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
I don't have to do anything except be present,
Mhm.
not be afraid of sitting there with you in silence, or as you cry and weep and scream and yell and get mad because it's unfair and it shouldn't have happened, and trying to make sense of something that's unsensible, right? I don't even know if that's a word. I'm just making up shit as I go. That's not sensible. I think that's right.
Did
Yeah, trying to make sense of something
of
that's
the
not sensible.
unsensible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you see, because I know not every news station reported it, that through all of everything that was burned, there was a church standing?
I didn't. I typically make it a practice not to listen
Not
to the
right.
media, just
Right.
as a personal, like,
I
highlight of the
of course.
world crisis and drama going off in
Of
life.
course, but when it
Yeah.
initially happens, because now it's just becoming, now I'm paying attention to when I do see it. I'm like, "Oh, they're still reporting on how many deaths and how many missing and how many, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, the excessiveness, I never think it's, necessary.
Right.
So,
And the
you know
situation's a bit different because of the remote location
right.
and those
Of
kinds of things.
course.
Yeah, I can acknowledge that. But I think when I get to, wanting information, I'll rely on my firefighter brothers and sisters